Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is BTS, that's Behind the Scenes, a show where we share a sneak peek into the latest issue of the Business Today magazine with all our viewers. Joining in on this show with me are Sourav Majumdar, editor, Business Today magazine. Also joining in is Krishna Gopalan, executive editor of the Business Today magazine, and Rahul Oberoi, assistant editor, Business Today magazine. Thanks to all of you and for taking the time out and for joining in to discuss the key details about the newest issue of Business Today. And with this, I will just show a quick glimpse of the magazine, which I already have hands on to, and you can actually see the trio on the cover. It's Mukesh Ambani, then you have N. Chandrasekharan and Sandeep Bakshi donning the cover. And this is a special edition, as you all know, the BT500, India's most valuable companies, which is of course one of the most awaited rankings of India's most valuable companies that we are going to be discussing all about. Let me kickstart this discussion first with you, Sourav. Welcome back to BTS. It's great to have you with us. Multiple discussions have gone through before you had joined us last, and until so far many excellent issues have come about, and we've also seen recently your exclusive interaction with Vijay Patsingadia, and that's of course something that the entire industry is talking about. So congratulations to you on that as well. This is something that investors and all our viewers can continue to see and read over our website, on YouTube channels as well. But getting back to the Business Today magazine BT500, talk to us about this special edition and this year's rankings. What are the key takeaways, Sourav?
Thank you very much, Sakshi, and great to be back on the show. I think this year the BT500, the 2023 edition, which Rahul Oberoi and his team and all of us together have then put together, is also very interesting, given the fact that there is a lot of turbulence and choppiness in the markets. And this is India's most watched listing of the most valuable companies. So in that background, we need to see the list this year. That's point number one. Point number two is that there are some interesting changes and takeaways from the top 10. If you look at that list this year, essentially you have ITC, for instance, breaking into the top 10, ICICI Bank breaking into the top 5. So there are some key interesting points, and Infosys, for instance, moves out of the top 5, settles at number 6. Barring these 2 or 3 things, there's not too much of change at the top. For instance, Reliance, as you pointed out in the cover, remains at number 1. TCS is at number 2, and therefore we have put Sandeep Bakshi there because he breaks into the top 5 from ICICI Bank. So that is one part of the list this year. The second part, of course, is the fact that the market capitalization overall is based on, the list itself is based on average market capitalization for the period October 2022 to September 2023. And this listing is therefore based on the average market capitalization and the rankings thereof. Couple of other things is, you have a very interesting run of the banking sector, particularly public sector banks, and Rahul and can talk more about that. It's a huge run, and we've seen the bank clean up and credit growth and all of that. So I think because of that, the banking stocks have run up in a significant way. There are railways related stocks, something which Rahul has written about, and that because of the government focus on railway infrastructure and the orders. So there are 2 or 3 key themes there which also define that. Another interesting takeaway is the fact that last year we had, if you remember, the Adani pack running up significantly. And because of that, that was the theme in that sense of last year's market cap rankings. This year it's pretty much the opposite, because what has happened after the Hindenburg research report came out and thereafter. So the Adani pack, barring a couple of them like Adani Enterprises, etc., most of them have fallen in terms of the ranking and the market cap. So I think these are the 3 or 4 key takeaways which I think dominate this year's list. Sakshi.
Absolutely, a lot of things to really read through. All the market enthusiasts will have enough and more insights if you go on to read what the BT 500 really talks about in terms of the stocks that have now become as one of those top stocks as well. But other key themes also, Sourav, if you could highlight for all our viewers that investors can continue to understand from this entire ranking, which has been a marquee issue that continues to be one of the most anticipated ones.
Well, I think there are some of the stories which we have also done, and I think Krishna also can discuss a little more about that during the course of this discussion. I think there is one capital goods theme which is also playing out, again because of the focus on the government's focus on capital expenditure and stuff. I think that is one theme. There is also, we've done a different story also on the corporate governance aspect, where some work remains to be done. The ESG aspect of things, because that's also with the new SEBI norms around ESG and reporting of ESG compliance. I think that's a challenge which companies are facing, and how they are in fact coping with the new norms. Many of them, of course, have again, ITC is one of them, have been ahead of the curve, but there are some which are still trying to come to grips with the new norms, and which is only a good thing, because as more and more compliance on the ESG front happens, it's good for the environment, it's good for corporate India, because shareholders today, remember Sakshi, and you know it very well, are very, very keenly watching companies which are ESG compliant. So 2 or 3 other themes like that. There is Varun Beverages, which we have also profiled, which has also seen a very smart run up because of the manner in which it is actually, it's almost like a single supplier of bottling, bottler for PepsiCo, and it's done well. So there are some of these interesting themes, and of course the tables themselves have a lot of stories inbuilt in them.
Wonderful. Let me bring in Rahul Oberoi now into the conversation, who's been at the helm of the making of the BT 500 rankings. So Rahul, throw some light on the methodology, how you exactly came up with the rankings and what all has been taken into consideration for all our viewers to understand better.
Sure, Sakshi, thank you. So Sakshi, we first started with all the listed companies which are there on BSE and NSE, and then cut short all those companies whose trading days are less than 20% of the study period, which is October 2022 to September 2023. And thereafter, whatever the companies we got, we rearranged those companies on the basis of average market capitalization and ranked them accordingly. So the top 500 are the BT 500 list.
Okay. Rahul, could you also share with us on the key sectors that gained the most on the list, the key stocks that you've really talked about here, which have definitely been some that have been the key highlights in these rankings?
Actually, as Sourav said, capital goods sector did very well during our study period. Besides this, railway stocks were in focus due to huge orders and government focus on the sector, and select PSU banks and private banks were also among the major gainers. We saw, in fact, SBI jumped one spot up to number 7. It was at number 8 last year. And if we talk about stocks or companies, so Mazgaon Dock Shipbuilder, Lloyd Metal, RVNL, FACT and Jindal Stainless were among the top gainers in terms of rise in average market capitalization. And on the other hand, if we talk about the top losers, so Gland Pharma, Nykaa, Questcorp and National Standard and TTML witnessed some erosion in their average market capitalization during our study period.
Okay, so that's as far as the key movement on terms of sectors and stocks is concerned as well. Now let's delve a little bit more into the detail. Like Sourav and Rahul both pointed out that not many changes have been made in the top 5 or 10 names, barring 1 or 2. So let's talk about India's most valued company on the stock exchanges now. And Krishna, I'd like your inputs here because you've studied Reliance Industries and you've written about it. India's largest company continues to grow in both traditional and consumer facing sectors, but more importantly, with the recent changes coming into fore, we've actually seen the induction of the next generation of Mukesh Ambani now taking the front seat as well, with the respective businesses, the Jio business, retail business, as far as the new energy business is also concerned. Talk to us about how the transformation in India's largest company is now really taking place.
So actually, I think transformation is quite clearly the takeaway as far as RIL is concerned. And if you look at each of the businesses, be it the traditional O2C, the oil to chemicals businesses, or if you move into some of the more, well, it's probably not fair to say newer, but businesses that have been around for a decade, such as telecom and retail, it's absolutely clear. I'm just going to pick up telecom for a second because they call the telecom business today the digital business. So to look at it purely as just a mobility business would be an incorrect assessment of the business. So they're speaking of installing towers, which is one part of it. They have Geo Air Fiber now. They have connectivity for enterprise. So mobility becomes a very small component of the entire business. That's exactly how they've transformed the status quo. You speak to people outside, speak to people inside informally. They just like to question the existing status quo. And speaking of Reliance as a whole, as a situation where questioning or reorienting or reimagining the business model, if I may say so, becomes a theme. Look at retail, for example. They started off about 15 years ago only as the pure format, modern trade shop, if I may say so, Reliance Fresh. Today they cut across brands, they cut across formats, and the retail business alone brings in a turnover of over 2.4 lakh crores each year. So the thinking scale, they're reimagining the business and giving each of the businesses a more B2C feel as far as the sunrise business are concerned. You look at O2C, there's obviously disruption, there's obviously the fact that the world markets are questioning a few things, but they seem to have got that piece also together. Much as the O2C piece brings in about 60% of the business, the clear takeaway is the fact that the newer businesses starting from zero about 10 years ago bring in about 40%.
Absolutely. Now, going forward from here, Krishna, could you tell us, how the next wave of strength will really come in for Reliance Industries as a group? Will this proportion of revenue contribution also change going forward? Will these new businesses acquire even more importance, greater importance when we compare to the traditional businesses of Reliance Industries? How do you see it really going forward from here?
I think they're obviously going to get more out of the existing businesses like digital and retail. If you look at it, I think the advantage of getting into telecom is they've disrupted the voice market. They see a clear opportunity in disrupting the data market now. So it's no similar to what happened in the DTH market many years ago. So they will get into markets where, let's say, there is no optic fiber cable, and then the air fiber becomes the option to getting data at an affordable cost. Retail is still at a I would say stage of infancy as far as India is concerned. So a lot more can be done across formats, across price points. And let's not forget that the ability to convert, or let's say have a play between online and offline, is something which makes it a clear USP. You don't have too many companies in India which can play both the formats. What is not spoken of is new energy, and the difference that Reliance brings to the table as far as new energy is concerned is that it's perhaps the only player or the only player of scale to have a clear understanding of chemicals, and they will bring that to new energy. So if you look at the gigabyte factories that they plan to have at Jamnagar or the whole plant for PV, it is based on a chemical engineering model. It's something they understand very well. So if you go back in time to understanding Reliance's business model, they started off with textiles, went about backward integration, got it right on plastics, and then to petrochemicals before getting into oil and gas. So the understanding of the supply chain, or the cycle, if I may call it, is what stands them in good stead as far as the new energy business is concerned.
Fair enough. Well, Sourav, let me come to you for the last word now. Of course, a lot of insights have already been shared by you, Rahul and Krishna. But what more can the viewers really expect from this issue? Any more interesting stories that one can look forward to?
The list itself, as I said, is a mine of stories of trends which are there in corporate India. Who have been the most key losers, who are the ones which are key gainers. I think that itself tells you a story.
Yeah.
Also remember, this was in the backdrop of a pretty turbulent market in general. I mean, while the secular uptrend may be continuing, there is short-term choppiness in the market, as you have been following regularly and you've been covering it in detail. The next year, in fact, will be even more interesting, I'm sure, because of how the continuing geopolitical environment, inflationary expectations, and the trends which are there globally in the economic, on the global economy, how they play out, how the India Inc. navigates this VUCA world. And the VUCA world seems to just go on and on. So that is going to be the real test of leadership of these big companies. But I must say, as we often see, the market knows. and the market therefore values those companies which have navigated their challenges, their sectoral what would I say, hurdles, etc. well. And you see that in this list. You've seen Reliance, you've seen TCS. Despite the headwinds which the IT sector, ITES sector has faced, TCS has really emerged well, and the new management also is doing that, which we've covered in this issue. So that's another key interesting takeaway. So some of those things which are clearly there, which give you pointers not just for this year but for the future. So these are the top of the tops. This top 100, if you see even the top 25, top 50 companies are the cream of India Inc. And how they navigate this uncertain world in the future will be the most riveting, interesting thing to watch.
Absolutely, and this is something that of course all the viewers and investors will be very, very interested to read through as well. Some of the key points already mentioned by you. Another important point will be how the political gamut will also be having an impact on how these companies and stock markets will also react to state elections, two big general elections of India and US, also going to be very, very important in the way most of our companies which are already going global will be very, very important to watch out for as to how do they navigate the new trends as well. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Sourav, Krishna and Rahul, for being with us on this special edition and sharing such valuable insights from this newest edition of Business Today magazine for all our viewers. I'm sure all the viewers will greatly benefit if they get their hands on these copies. So please do go out there and grab your copies. They're already out on the stands. This is an issue that you don't want to miss at all. Many thanks for joining us on Business Today Television and watching BTS. But do stay tuned for a lot more action that comes up on your screens right after this.